heavy. I liked my other suggestion better.
Knox, I didn't know this was your favorite band.
I just want everybody to know I service Pastor Toby on this. He's the one that wanted. Is this what you listen to when you're writing sermons?
This is intense. Hey,
I think this is sacrimonious. This is not right, man.
I know. Rum, bum, bum, bum. Wow.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you for joining Cross Politic on the Sunday special.
That's
Pastor
really
Toby,
weird.
Chalk Knox.
Yo.
I'm the water boy.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing my Christmas jacket I wear every year.
No.
I started.
Oh my goodness.
I started wearing this when we were back in the piano studio, above the piano studio.
Neil, can you
bright,
do something
bro.
in post-production? And
Can we change this color or something?
can't-
Super bright over
Man,
there.
I just got jolly all over me. That's what I want.
Make his camera black and white.
Happy holidays.
That's almost Grinch, man.
Okay, all right.
We got Marcus Pittman coming up, and Maceo
Jordan. That's right.
CEO
Of Loor
of
TV.
Loor TV. So you guys stick around for that interview.
Making a lot of noise right now with Loor.
It's a lot. It's exciting. It's exciting. I like what they're trying to do, and I'm really pumped about all the opportunities that they're creating.
Absolutely.
through this whole process. So God bless startups, right?
Hey, if you're a skilled carpenter and you want to move to Moscow, anybody want to move to Moscow?
There's an opportunity.
Lots of people.
Ely Construction has a position for you. They're booked solid for the next year plus, growing fast, and need highly skilled carpenters to join their team. Ely Construction, E-A-L-Y Construction.
Good people.
They pay great salaries and benefits, hire for a long-term career fit, and have a culture of excellence and respect for everyone at the company. If you know a lead carpenter with 10 plus years of residential and remodel carpentry experience who could thrive in Moscow, send them to elyconstruction.com. That's E-A-L-Y construction.com. Go there now. I just told you to do stuff. I do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Nathaniel's my boy. He's good people. He serves with me as a deacon at our church.
And who doesn't want to move to Moscow?
I know. Seriously. Before we move on, we got a little happy birthday shout out to Ryan.
Ryan.
A friend of Ryan's who's a girl.
How old is Ryan?
Put
Old
together.
enough to have
I
him?
mean, I think he's old enough to
Okay.
But anyway,
is this our way to push him?
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say. We ain't going to go there.
Uh-oh.
But
What's up with you, Ryan?
She reached out and said, "Hey, we put a little package together for Ryan and send it to me and then shout out, give him a happy birthday on Cross Politic.
Well, look at that.
So his birthday's on Saturday, so today's Sunday night special. So Ryan, if you're tuning in, you got a friend out there who's a girl who put all this together.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
Are there any girls that want to wish Neil happy birthday?
Oh, our producer.
Could you please contact us at news@crosspolitic.com. news@crosspolitic.com.
Hey, real quick, I've had several people ask me about this. They're buying club memberships for their mom, dad, brother, sibling.
Look at you
whatever.
guys. Way to go.
And they want to say, hey, I want to put a little stocking stuffer in for Christmas, saying, hey, I got you a club membership. Yeah. We have that card, so if you guys are buying a club membership for your sibling, friend, girlfriend, Ryan, if you're buying, and you just email me your address at crosspolitic@gmail.com and we'll get this sent out. We probably got to get everything done before probably like December 20th.
Can they also write you
like
Gabe at Cross Politic?
No, because that's not my email address.
Oh, Waterboy?
Yeah, there you go.
Waterboy at Cross Politic.
Hey, don't give out that email address publicly.
Yeah, there we go.
Now you done did it.
Hey,
Yeah.
you guys, if you download the app yet,
You should.
search Fight Laugh Feast
right.
at your favorite app store. Download the app. I think one of the things that's blowing up the most is the daily news.
The daily news
I
brief.
wasn't done with the club push real quick because
That was a part of the club push. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we got the Kodiak Fight Laugh Feast Club, Kodiak Club tumblers coming out too.
I'm so excited
And again,
for these.
if you guys are getting this for Christmas for
I can't
a
quite
loved
hold
one,
that in my hand yet.
No, it's coming. It's coming. I'm hoping this week we
Takes
should get home
privilege to be able to hold
they
one
will.
of those.
We're trying to get them out all before Christmas, and so again, probably by about December 20th, you got to make sure your club memberships are all processed. If you're gonna at
you
least
can get one of
this
those right now.
for your sibling or loved one for Christmas
Or Tim
that
Keller.
kind of thing.
Or Tim Keller.
But the next 150 people are going to get this tumbler. So you got to get a club membership at $25 or more.
It's really fun to see people just like on the social media. It's like just doing stuff, and all of a sudden be like, "Hey, look, they got their Fight Laugh Feast shirt on."
And they're not even talking about their shirt.
No,
they're just rocking
doing
it.
stuff, but they're just rocking the Fight Laugh Feast, and having it with the tumblers,
so encouraging.
having it with the stickers, having it with the hat, the beanie.
We're creating like a brotherhood here.
RowdyChristian.com.
Yeah. Where you can get all your merch and everything. So don't forget to get Pastor Toby's. But this is another Christmas gift you can get.
Yeah.
Marriage book.
Nice little package.
Yeah. I try to read amongst everything else that I read, I try to read a book on marriage every year and a book on raising kids every year. So I try to get
You've made
those
me
two
jump
in.
on that process.
Yeah, it's a good process. And so this is my 2021 marriage book.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Finally get that marriage together. I'm kidding.
Y'all need to have a moment. Y'all want me to leave? I can leave.
You're just gonna open up our counseling sessions here on the show.
How's it really going, Gabe?
It's going.
How's
great.
it really going?
It's going great. We're gonna do our wives' Christmas show.
Oh, it's true.
Coming up in a couple
broke
weeks.
it to my wife last night.
Did you? You know what? Okay, this is so weird. I know we got to move on because we don't have a lot of time. But
No.
I those shows to me are like I just sink after those shows. I don't think they're that good. I'm like, oh, I had a great time, but
We ate a lot of food.
and every time everyone's like, I just love those shows.
My wife looks at me. She's like, again.
But people love to watch those shows.
But I said, honey, you got to submit.
And she's like, okay.
Did you also tell your wife who to vote for? Just saying.
That's how we do it in the Sumter family.
Okay, all right, I can leave.
That's great. Well, so if a Biden administration happens,
Curse you, Gabe.
Give me a percentage. Give me a percentage. What do you think? What's the percentage of Biden administration is going to happen?
60-40.
You're 60-40.
I'm 60-40.
Toby, where are you at?
Yeah, 60-40.
Yeah, I wasn't 60-40 at first. I was more like 80-20.
You were more like 90. You were more like 90-10.
I was 80, I was.
Well, you were kind of like that way on election
night. Yep.
I think right afterwards, within the first week, I was more like 80-90.
Yeah. For Biden?
Biden. I mean, as they were calling all the states, I'm like, and then, even with the early screams of like, fraud or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to, listening to Colbeck and all the other stuff going around, and I'm like, well, Georgia is actually the governor last night came out and after the hearing in Georgia said, I think we should actually do a forensic ballot.
So it was a forensic count.
A recount.
Was that for everything, or is that for the moving on to the next election?
I thought it was for this one.
Okay.
I think he was. I may have misunderstood, but what I saw was he said based on the testimony we saw today, which was Thursday. He said we should do a hand count, and I thought he meant by that more than just what they already did.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Was it Wisconsin or was it Nevada where they're actually the judges ruling on?
So by the time our show Sunday Special airs, we'll already know. Yeah. But I think it was he's the judge in Nevada is going to rule on some things
on a couple of thousand elections whether or not.
And I think there's some stuff before the Wisconsin Supreme Courts, but I think they're actually the Supreme Court. I think just ruled that they kicked it down to the lower courts that you can decide on this.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're actually going to allow the latter process. Yeah, start there. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I only think they need one thing to happen. If that happens, I think it's going to be a lot of other bold people.
One piece of heavy fraud to be exposed.
But meanwhile, Biden is just cranking right along.
Here he is, president of office of the president-elect. Office of the president. Is that an office?
It is now.
Has it ever happened before like that?
I don't know. I've never seen that poster anywhere.
I know, right?
But I could be wrong. Somebody, hey, y'all, scrub through Google and tell us if that's ever happened before.
Maybe that's all he's ever going to be elected to. Let's pray.
Assistant to the president of office elect. So here he is rolling out his campaign.
Here's Kami.
Where the federal government has authority, I'm going to issue a standing order that in federal buildings you have to be masked, and in transportation, interstate transportation, you must be masked in airplanes and buses, et cetera. And so it's a matter of, and I think my inclination, Jake, is on the first day I'm inaugurated to say I'm going to ask the public for 100 days to mask. Just 100 days to mask. Not forever, 100 days.
Not forever.
And I think we'll see a significant reduction if we occur that. If that occurs with vaccinations and masking to drive down the numbers considerably.
You gonna ask? He said considerably twice. I just want him to know, just because he said that twice, don't mean nothing.
Well, remember, all the states that have had masking mandates since, August, July.
I've seen the curves.
Back to April,
it doesn't
work.
But
he's but what's going to happen is I wouldn't be surprised if he does this 100-day thing, and guess what happens in spring?
It spikes. And it keeps going.
Or we kind of went through the population.
Guys, we've been wearing
October,
masks since May.
October, okay? November, December.
We've been, and it hasn't stopped. Yeah. We've even had cities mandate them. But listen, I don't like this talk from the government when they say, we're going to ask you. Yeah. Are you asking me?
Right.
Because I'm going to say no. So what happens when I say no? Are we going to negotiate on the date, or are you going to tell me?
I just think
he ain't asking.
We should just listen to Dr. Fauci.
Speaking of Fauci, have you spoken with him yet? If so, have you asked him to stay on?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Tell me about the conversation. As he said, what more needs to be done from his point of view?
Well, look, my chief of staff has worked with him in the last crisis. He's been talking to him all the time, Ron Klain. I talked to him today. We spoke today at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
All right. So we got Fauci's going to come on the Biden
Is William Barr going to stay on? Over, under on Barr. Go. Over, under on Barr. Is he staying
What's
on?
your percentage?
Why is Fauci staying on?
100% gone.
He's got the same chance that I do of dying of coronavirus.
There you go. So, but if you guys remember, Fauci back in March, this was 60 Minutes. Fauci back in March is, kind of talking against Biden here.
I think we should listen to this, Fauci.
Yeah.
The masks are important for someone who's infected to prevent them from infecting someone else.
Keep that infection
now,
in mind.
when you see people and look at the films in China and South Korea, whatever, everybody's wearing a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
No reason.
When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet.
It's going to block a droplet.
But it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
You hear that?
And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
Yep. And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
Of course you can.
I like that.
The schmutz.
You get that schmutz in there.
So like when everybody's talking at the microphone, if I take off my mask, all that stuff just flies around. Schmutz just goes over. Yeah. And you know how he knew that? Because we had all the studies on masks and randomized control testing.
That's what all the studies say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, studies for decades
have always
said, right?
We also have to make sure that when the vaccine is distributed, it's accessible to people who've been hurt the most. The
Who's
brown
been hurt
and
the
black
most?
community,
Oh!
which are not likely to be able to access, for example, Walmarts or access. We have to get to their neighborhoods. So it's a really difficult but doable project, but it has to be well planned, and that's what we're in the process of beginning to do now.
Knox, you're black.
Hold on. Honey, can we get to Walmart?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question.
Can your mama get to Walmart? Okay. Can your cousin get to... We can all get to Walmart. No, Biden just said black people can't get to Walmart. Okay, all right. I'll tell them to shut up. Okay,
That's one of the most demeaning things.
It's ridiculous. Here's what I have a question on.
This should be all over the news.
Yeah.
Everywhere. But
there are fine people on both sides.
But it should be a certain group of people who should be pushing this. Where are all the social justice warriors saying, how dare you decide to talk after all we did to get you elected?
Mason?
Right, exactly.
Where's Jamar Tisby?
Yeah. Do you like being? Guys, this upsets me in so many ways because first of all, Walmart has figured out how to be in every black community ever, and if there's anybody who goes to Walmart, it's black
people.
Okay, and we will Walmart and Target. We'll decide where we're gonna live at based off of Walmart and Target. So, but I don't like the fact that he's deciding, the virus situation either. Who's gonna get the vaccine? That ain't. No, that's not how this works.
Well, he isn't it like Obama and Bush and
Clinton have all decided to come out and say
the last three Democratic presidents.
Bars.
They all said they're going to take the
they're deciding
the vaccine.
If publicly in front of everybody.
You think they're really going to take it?
Well, you know what? I don't like living in a world where everyone needs them to take it in order to say that. That's so weird. It's like, guys, weren't we the ones who grew up saying, if your friend jump off a bridge, you gonna jump off a bridge too?
You said this is like us living in a bad movie.
Yeah, some sort of Orwellian nightmare.
Right? Like,
yeah.
the presidents are now going to take their vaccines, so it's safe.
Right.
Well, I just want to add, there's two different vaccines going around.
Yeah.
One of them is coming from this company, Moderna.
Okay.
And they're have gone through clinical trials and going through the whole process. But their vaccine is, I don't know if you call it like revolutionary. It's different. It's a different approach to how, at least at minimum, right?
Yeah.
To how,
as long as you understand revolutionary is a bad thing.
Yeah. And what they're doing is they're actually trying to tap in to like the DNA,
right? And
get your DNA to create proteins and antibodies within the DNA structure itself.
Right.
So this is on their website. This is straight from their website. And what they're trying to mess with is the RNA, which is a subset under DNA. So mRNA, plays a fundamental role in human biology, transferring the instructions stored in DNA to make the proteins required in every living cell. Our approach is to use mRNA medicines to instruct a patient's own cells to produce proteins that could prevent, treat, or cure disease. So they're trying to like tap into like the DNA structure.
Right. It's sort of fun to hear you talking about genetics, just first of all.
Don't you mean eugenics?
But yeah, right. But that's the thing is, and so you were reading other sections of the website where they're also saying like that you can't, they don't want people to conceive children.
On clinicaltrials.gov, where they track all this, these clinical trials, and they put out the regulations and criteria for what these clinical trials are. They're basically saying while you're part of the clinical trial of this RNA, vaccine.
They're afraid it's going to mess with the DNA of the new baby.
They say don't have intercourse. They're saying if you have the potential of getting pregnant, don't get pregnant. They're saying if you are pregnant, you can't do this.
So here's the deal.
They have all these regulations.
I don't know much about
and they define what kind of sex you should be having while you're taking these vaccines.
And so what we need to do is make sure that we try all this stuff on the black people who can't get to Walmart. Like they did back in the 40s with eugenics. So that's what we're saying now. So now we're messing up here.
That's called equity.
Now,
don't you know about equity?
Oh, this and here we are once again back in 1940s where we can try Tuskegee Airmen. The same situation there.
It's like what Ronald Reagan said that some of the scariest words in the English language is we're from the government and we're here to help you.
No thanks.
Right?
No,
thanks. When the government says they need help, run.
Run. And black people, you better not be the first one. Let somebody else take it. All right. More cross policy coming up next. Marcus Pittman and Maceo Jordan talking about Loor. You don't want to miss that. More cross politics.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
And this lady, we have to talk about that.
Yeah. You're single, get married, have kids.
Find out her name, Ryan.
When a medical need arises, hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation care for one another by sharing financially for those medical needs. Samaritan members pray and reflect God's love and care by providing for one another. While times continue to change, God's love doesn't. He cares for us as we are called to care for one another.
You make that coffee this morning?
I did actually.
You make that coffee for me?
It's good, man.
Welcome back to Cross Politic. We are grateful to have you back with us. You got some Cross Politic coffee? Is this post mill coffee?
This is Sovereign Roast.
Hey, you can get that at rowdychristian.com. Get your own Sovereign post mill roast.
Man, it's thick too. It's good.
On Christmas Day, you too could be sitting in a place more cozy than this, drinking Sovereignty roast.
Yes, sir.
In your living room.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in your PJs.
That's right.
Celebrating the birth of Jesus. Hey, with us on the line right now, actually, we got two people. Marcus Pittman.
I think the
in
most,
the house.
The most return guest in Cross Politic history.
We got to fix that door.
It was like
really?
I don't know.
I just
make things, and maybe Doug too,
or David Bonson.
Bonson's been a lot. Yep.
Marcus Pittman, if you don't know, he's worked at Apologia Studios, director of Babies Are Murdered Here and Babies Are Still Murdered Here. Worked with the Chocolate Knox back in the day.
Back in the day.
At How to Answer the Fool.
No, so there's two places. We worked at Wretched together.
Wretched?
Yep, that's right. And
For a short time.
You worked at Wretched?
Well, you know.
It's not a rumor. To Toby?
It's not a rumor. And then Marcus, when he left Wretched, started a thing called...
But you didn't have as much beard back then, did you?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Did you have a lot of beard
Oh,
back then?
yeah. That's
Yeah,
where it
he
started
did.
at.
He did.
And then he worked on a thing called Crown Rights, and Marcus started Crown Rights, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. So then we worked on Crown Rights, and then from Crown Rights went to American Vision, and then...
Wait a sec. There's kind of a pattern here. Like following each other around?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
or has he just
absolutely.
been following you the whole time?
I follow him.
No. First he followed me, and then he started Crown Rights, and I followed him,
Okay, all right.
and then he
So-
passed the baton again.
Okay,
and then
y'all
we-
just stay here in Moscow now, okay?
Right now,
Stop
that's it.
moving around.
let's
Stop
stay
it.
here.
Hey,
Stop it.
Marcus is also the chief creative officer at Loor
Look at you.
TV.
Look at that. Nice time.
Loor TV. Are we on that? Are we on? Is Cross Politics on Loor TV?
You guys can do whatever you want on Loor.
Maseo said yes.
Our other guest on the line with us is Maseo Jordan. He's a serial entrepreneur with 2 decades. A serial entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur. That's a
Whoa,
thing.
that's a thing.
He be killing business.
With 2 decades of
It's more like Fruit Loops. More like Fruit Loops.
Oh, that's cereal. Okay, it's a brand. I got it.
building businesses by creating great products, great marketing. His experience spans from real-world experience in the U.S. Army to the cutthroat world of electronic trading. That doesn't sound like Fruit Loops at all.
No, it's cereal.
He was an early pioneer in computerized trading. He built one of the earliest high-frequency trading systems for the S&P 500.
Wow.
Get out.
He also, when pay-per-click marketing platforms burst on the scene, he translated his work into automated systems for Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn.
Oh, so he's the deep state.
Yeah, it's his fault.
You got one of those Dominion voting machines, Maseo?
Yeah, you want to see it? Yeah.
It's a little vending machine in his house. There it is. There it is.
Okay.
That was quick.
That was great. That was great.
He's a seasoned presenter, early pioneer online video shooting, editing. He's produced, finished 30 to 60-minute videos every day for nearly 4 years.
Wow.
He's coached and taught individual groups for over 30 years, and he loves giving listeners stories, giving stories to people that they will love, cherish, and share, which it connects to the fact that he's the CEO of this Loor TV.
That's right. Yeah.
So, Maseo, Marcus, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic.
Thanks for having us.
Dude, I'm glad to be here.
Well, and now that introductions have happened, time's up. We gotta
all
wrap
over
it up.
Maseo took all that
That was
time.
a long bio.
That was a cereal bio.
So I've been saying Loor TV, LOOR.TV.
That's right.
What is Loor?
So Loor is a platform that
Is it spelled right?
It is, yeah. Well, yeah, that's how we spell it.
Okay.
That's all that matters.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, hey, Google was spelled wrong.
That's right.
Just follow the tradition.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So Loor is actually comes from the term laurels, which were the awards that they gave during the Greek Olympics and stuff like that that went around the head.
Yeah.
And so Loor comes
After
from
they killed each other and
my
last
wife's
man
name
standing.
is Laura. It's all from that root of awards and giving awards, and also film lore and epic stories of the past. So it all comes
Loor and laurels.
Yes.
And
yeah,
epic stories.
Yeah, it all comes from the
We're
same.
multi-layered.
Yeah.
Kind of poetic.
It is. And the point of it is that we want to make a platform where the consumers decide what sort of content that they want to see. Okay. Most of the content you watch on television, pretty much all the content you watch on television now, is by about 8 people in rooms. So you have the head of Netflix, the head of Disney, and they decide what it is you watch.
So Loor's business model is that the customer's right.
The customer is right. Yeah, it's basic economics.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So right. So the way entertainment works now is sort of like the Ayn Rand model, where the people who make decisions are at the top.
Right.
And we're saying, well, Ayn Rand had a lot of right about the free market and stuff, but she was wrong in that the real power is not John Galt. It's in the consumers who buy John Galt's services. And so what we're saying is let's get the suits out of the way in making the entertainment decision, and let's let individuals make those choices without any sort of barriers or let's scatter the gatekeepers.
So, how does that work, Maseo?
Messily. But so I'll build on something that I think has really, I don't know, inculcated business, right? So you get Steve Jobs and everybody using the cliche, if you would have asked customers what they wanted when Henry Ford was building his car, they would have said a faster horse.
Right.
And that does disservice to people. Look, people know what they want. Sometimes they need to be led. Sometimes they need to see better options. And so when you take that thinking, meaning the customer doesn't know what they want, like Steve Jobs said, I'll tell people what they want.
Right.
You can occasionally hit on a winner. Because we got to remember, Steve Jobs got his butt fired because he was totally wrong about the launch of Macintosh.
Right.
He would have bankrupted that company, no question. Now, had he introduced it to people and approached it more like a team, like it's a joint thing, meaning, yeah, creatives can create, but if you let them just do whatever they want, you get, Picasso, which takes a little while to get used to. But if you have a team, you create something more like the Mona Lisa, where basically everybody looks at that picture and say, wow, that's a good picture. Whereas, you look at the Screaming Man or whatever that picture, where the dude is like that. Yeah, I get it, but you've got to be inculcated, educated, brainwashed into say, enough people have to tell you that that's art for you to just say that that's art, which leads to the next point. That where we have lost control as Christians is understanding that stories rule the day. There's a reason Jesus told stories, because that's how you get directly into people's brains. Now, one of the realities that I've experienced personally with these groups of people making decisions is that they have a distinct worldview. Back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there was a movement inside of Hollywood and inside of music that was deliberately and consciously designed to attack the foundations of the Christian worldview, because they believe that worldview is holding the world back. Now, we don't have to spin out into the conspiracy theories. We just need to know that the decisions that are being made about what goes on our screens, what our children are watching, is based on furthering a deliberate worldview. This is not pure artistic expression. In fact, the artists are deliberately kept out of the expression because of some of these issues. Not entirely, but some of these issues. So, for example, you get one line in the Frozen movie, "There are no rules for me." Well, that's a direct reflection of basically a Satanist belief which says, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Yeah. Then you get a big movie like Moana, where you have a pagan character singing a song about how you should thank that pagan character for the wind and the sea and the mountains. And so as a believer, I look at that and say, okay, that's idolatry. It goes off. But where most parents are forced into is watching the whole movie, then talking about that movie with their significant other, and making a decision based on that, where, look, most people are too busy, too disinterested, and they're just not going to do it. And so what we said before cameras were rolling is we've got to take a stewardship approach. And what's missing, certainly from Hollywood, I mean, everybody, I think, in the Christian world could agree that they don't have the same stewardship mentality that's based and grounded in the Scripture.
So does this mean that you guys are like the new Pure Flix?
No. No. I think you just cursed that film out.
Hey,
that's a high bar.
Wash your mouth? Where's the wash your mouth button?
Maseo almost took off his tie. That's hard for him to do. He almost.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So the difference is,
you don't want to know what's in my drawer when you hear this. That's bad.
That Dominion machine.
I do everything. Yeah. Pull up my door.
So the difference is when everybody. I mean, we can look around now. We can say, "Oh man, big tech is against us. Big tech is fighting against us." We have Netflix, we have the mainstream media, and Christians are so small and tiny. So the response is usually, hey, let's go form our own little Christian bubble business over here. Right. Whether that's Parler or Gab or even some of the alt tech websites, it's just they're not better. So what we're doing is we're saying we believe that Christians can create technology in such a way that they can actually influence and take over the secular industries. And we don't have to be like the Christian version of something. Okay. We're not the Christian version of something. We're the kingdom version which means we want to run the whole thing.
Okay, so you guys are talking about worldview and where you're at and how you view this. How does it operate? What is Loor itself? What does it look
practically
like? So take your worldview and put it in the app for me.
I'll let Maceo say it so I don't say something I shouldn't say.
Oh, okay. Ooh, no, Marcus, please. Go ahead.
No, that was you, Marcus.
Please.
Well, where's my mute button?
Well, I would say as of now, it's a system that allows the best story to win.
Okay, how does that work?
So creators can come and they can pitch their projects, and the consumers can decide with their money if they want to see that film being made.
Okay.
So let's break down the process, right? So when you're pitching a movie, you've got storyboards and all that stuff happens in the background, right? So we as consumers don't see that. But what we do see are trailers, right? And everybody has had the experience of watching a trailer and thinking, no, I'm not going to do this. That sums it all up. So we are disrupting the industry because, number one, we can break everything down into 30-second, 45-second spots. We can show that to people. And when they say, yeah, I like that, let's do it, we do it. And then even more, we break down the filming into, Quibi tried to do this, but into bite-sized chunks where they can actually see the production happen.
Yeah, so there's going to be a behind-the-scenes element that is going to be really important here because you're not just going to raise money for a film, which you're going to raise money for a film, but you're also going to get to see the content creators every step along the way talking about how they're making the film.
So you get to track your investment.
You get to track your investment of behind the scenes.
So this is like Kickstarter for TV.
It's Kickstarter plus Netflix combined, yes.
Kickstarter plus Netflix combined.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Marcel.
Papa John's pizza tracker in there.
Oh, okay, right. With the Papa's on. Okay.
Where my pizza at?
So,
where my TV show at?
So you guys have. How do you get people to sign on to this? So
yeah, it's a great question. The way we get people to sign on is we shock them with the content they've always wished that they could have and have never gotten from other Christian industries.
Okay.
So we start with that small market and we say, you guys are hungry. You're being fed rice. You're slaves in Egypt. And we show you what freedom looks like. And it's hard to do from a government standpoint, obviously. but from a pure economic standpoint, when people get to decide with their own money, they're a lot more likely to.
So I'm a consumer, and I would go to Loor.tv, and then I would look at all these different trailers and say, "Oh, I like that one." And
yes,
I'll give $10, 25, or 100, or whatever. I mean,
$1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Okay. Do I get a ROI if I put $1 million into it? Am I part owner in that movie?
A sale.
At $1 million, yes. Because, do we have a show me the money button?
Yeah.
All right. It's when most people think about streaming, they think about Hulu Plus, they think about Netflix, or even on my TV now, you've got SmartCast.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got a bazillion options that are up there. So we're at the beginning, obviously don't have that much content. So what's going to happen now, when you log on to Loor, for your membership, you're going to be able to participate in this process. Now, we're still early, so this will definitely morph into something like a Netflix, right, where you log on, you see this entire catalog of stuff. But right now, it's going to be that you log on, you see the different trailers. We'll feature some. We'll have a meritocracy system where people are going to be able to vote. And so we're calling it Loor Bucks, right? So when you have your membership, you get a certain number of Loor Bucks.
We haven't settled on a name, but
oh, now Maceo's dropping stuff.
Yeah. We haven't settled on it.
We're going to call it Loor Bitcoin.
Loor Coin?
Loor Bitcoin.
I think the name is a verb. It's fine. People are going to give Loor.
Yeah, they're going to give Loor. So that's going to be their vote, right? And so then once the vote is complete, if you will, or reaches a certain level, that's when the show actually gets done, which, by the way, is very similar to the way media works. It's the way music works. And so here's the problem. The problem is we don't know what we like until we see it. Right? That's just the basics of humanity.
Right.
So nobody knew they wanted an iPhone until Steve Jobs was up there and he did this.
And he took all my buttons away.
He just turned the phone.
And he didn't give him faster horses.
He didn't. He didn't. In fact, the phone didn't work. Well, no, a lot of people don't know that. The phone that he was holding did not operate as a phone. So we need to show people the content. But I do want to talk a little bit about what Mark has said. Look, this is not the same old run-of-the-mill, quote-unquote, Christian content where you can, like, predict the movie as it goes. You know, it's the tearjerker at minute 15, the conversion story at minute 47, the conversion struggle at minute 64. It's like that's what we're eating. But this is like Israel in the desert saying, hey, remember when we were sitting around our flesh pots? It's like, flesh pots? Like, when did we get meat? Once a century? And so we as people deceive ourselves, right? That's very clear in Scripture. Like, we have deceptive tongues. We don't know our own hearts. And so, this is all swirling together to where we need to show people what Christians creating art looks like and stop with this crappy Christian movie stuff. It's not good. Just look at the box office. So we think that by giving artists creative freedom and taking on stories like Breaking Bad, like Game of Thrones, without all of the
tits and dragons
in it.
Yeah,
that's what Marcus said. We're going to do Game of Thrones without the tits and the dragons.
Yeah,
because that's entertainment, right? We have to remember this is entertainment. Now it's going to be challenging, right? I mean, we've got to execute that in a way that's going to be pleasing to the Lord. Because I, for one,
and we'll have some dragons.
I was going to say, why no dragons?
Yeah, we'll have some dragons.
I was going to say,
why no dragons?
Yeah. We
can
kill
have
the dragon,
dragons.
get the girl. Yeah. They stole that, by the way.
We could just say without the tits.
Yeah, without the tits.
So, Marcel, okay, help me with something, because this is we've seen this inside of. Huh?
Can I say that word? Am I good?
We can mute that out later.
Neil bleeped it out.
Don't mute it out. So one of the problems that I've seen, we're experiencing it right now. You think about 10, 15 years ago, we see social media platforms coming out. Even some of the people who were inside of the punk rock world and inside of that culture, and especially Christians, no one wanted to touch that with a 10-foot pole. We're not putting I'm mainly speaking about venture capitalists here. So Christians who have money or engage inside of culture, they never seem to look at the thing that's going to be the future new hotness and engage it. There was, where's the Christians that were driving Facebook to have the majority of the shares there? The ones behind Google. Where are the Rod Martins that, Elon Musk is thinking about going to the Mars. Where's the Christians that are behind that have the majority share in that? And you guys are right now on the cusp of something that I think first, and I'm just going to say it, some Christian venture capitalists just don't have vision to see this. How do you get them to say, oh, this is where I need to be at. This is where I need to put my money into, because in the next 15, 20 years, Hollywood's leaving Hollywood. They're trying to get into streaming. HBO's everybody's trying to get into the streaming game now. How do you get Christians to see this is going to be where we're going to be in 15 years?
Well, some of it is just the bare basics of business, right? Christians haven't always made the best business decisions, right? You've got to build a team so that when a venture capitalist looks at that company, they don't see just three guys with an idea, mostly because we're beyond that. Now, back in the day, with Steve Jobs and Wozniak, that was cool. Like, you needed to be in a garage because the technology wasn't there. So and this is actually, I don't want to turn this into maybe a business lesson, but I'll give a little one.
Go ahead.
That concept alone will turn the dial, move the needle. Most venture capitalists will quiz you about the business. They'll attack your business plan. Some of that is really just to see how you operate under pressure. It's not like they know the future, so they don't know that you're going to be a success. But really, it comes down to the people that are on the team. And it's not enough to just have a dream and a hope. You need people that have been there and done that, which is part of why I wanted to come onto the project. That's why we got our COO, Nathaniel Talbot. He came from a venture-backed firm that had a successful exit. He understands that world. I understand that world. So when a VC is looking at us, they know that people are on the team that have the experience. So look, Solomon said, the Lord set things up so one thing wouldn't follow another, right? Now, so why did he say that? Well, he was just the wisest person that ever lived, right? So it must have some kind of importance. What it means is that there's no recipe, right? So venture capitalists know that there's no thing that you can do that's going to guarantee success other than having people on the team that can move in ways that aren't stupid. So it's the stupid moves that are going to get you taken out in capitalism. It's the stupid moves that are going to get you in trouble down the road. So most of what we're looking at has to do with the fact that Christians have lost control of the narrative, or I'll use a modern term. We forget that Harvard started out as basically a Christian institution and to foster Christian beliefs and a Christian worldview. So you get an Elon Musk that comes out of this relativistic, humanistic educational system. And so he is predisposed to not want me on his staff because I'm going to talk to him about Jesus Christ. And I'm going to say, hey, guys, we shouldn't do that because our Lord doesn't want us to do that. Yeah, we're going to go make a bunch of money. But last time I looked, in fact, I was watching your show about Leviticus. Leviticus even spells it out that, you know what, you should treat people nicely. Don't defraud your neighbor. Well, there are a lot of layers to that. We shouldn't do things that we know are going to serve our pocketbook. I'll give you an example. In the digital world where people are selling information like ebooks and things, they know for a fact 80% of people are not going to do anything. Now I'll take it one step further because I've tracked it. 92% of people that order a digital educational product don't even open the dang thing. And the industry knows it. That's why I exited business, because I looked around at a room and I said, fellas, if we have to make money like this, I'm going to go be a welder or something else. I'm out. And so that's not a conversation that meshes with that relativistic, humanistic worldview. And so we, just by our very presence, make people uncomfortable. So that's to answer your question of why you don't see more people like that or more people vocally like that. And then you just run into a situation where there are so many people that are either willfully ignorant, like what the Bible says, or just deceived. You wind up feeling uncomfortable. And look, it's tough if you're a singleton trying to operate in that world, right? A cord of 2 or 3 is not easily broken. So you wind up getting these small teams, but still not enough that they feel empowered enough to make a dent. And so we're just going to tear the whole dang thing down. We're going to take the incumbents and make them irrelevant.
Wow.
So I guess what do you need people to do at this point? You guys are just getting started. What is your action plans that you need people to help you with at this point?
Yeah. So the first thing is if you go to Loor.tv, we need accredited investors. That's the first thing we're doing. We're building up our initial content library and building out the tech side of the platform. So the first thing we need people who are looking to invest in something that really has a plan to really change the world. And let me just say real quick, stories are important. You don't get law unless you have stories first. The Bible gave us law through story, right? The liberals get this. The liberals will say, well, what about the person who's raped and they have an abortion and then they're whatever. And then the conservatives go, oh, yeah, well, that's only 1%. Right? Well, that's statistics. Conservatives argue for law based on statistics, but liberals understand stories. So we have to have a platform of stories. And so this is why it's important. This is why. So if you're looking for something that's really going to influence and change the world to put your money into, go to Loor.tv and there's an investor sign up on for that email list.
So you actually have openings for real investors to invest in Loor and just not within the projects,
right? Not within the projects, and then eventually and you can sign up on Loor.tv as a consumer, and we'll send you information and updates through email there, and then you'll be able to invest in projects.
LOOR.TV. I'm there right now. I'm looking at your. It's kind of fun. Goes into the clouds and then out of the clouds. Yeah. There's also a promo video that was kind of hot.
Yeah. It was kind of hot. Yeah. You guys are making a lot of noise and you're just getting started. I wish you guys the best on this. Maceo Jordan and Marcus Pittman, thank you guys for coming on the show. Loor.tv. Hope you guys check it out. More Cross Politic coming up next.
I know 2020 feels like a really bad horror movie.
It's a great one. I know. We didn't even pay for it. Well, kind of. Bailouts.
Pay for it.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations, we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
Oh, I wanted to use my intro music to this.
Oh, we'll play your intro music. Get it.
What is it? Oh, here we go.
It's not too late. You still have your microphone.
Here we go. Right here.
Yeah, all right.
This is my intro music right here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, man.
Sean Kingston, does he even make music anymore?
He doesn't need to. That's right.
All right, that's enough for me.
Just turn him off.
That's enough.
Welcome back to Cross Politics.
Way better.
On the one and only
your mic's
Fight
off.
Live Feast Network. You just lost all your. You have no mic. Just mime the
Have you
rest of the
shared the
segment.
show yet?
Oh, serious.
I totally forgot to tell people to share the show.
That's all right. Third
but
segment.
It's super important.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
It's almost over, but
No, it
now's
actually
time.
is, because usually what happens is everybody shares in the beginning, they forget to share in the end, and so it's a good time to share.
Hey, this last week, our friend Walter Williams passed away.
Yeah.
Economist.
You think he thought we were
Walter
friends?
Williams.
I know. I consider him a friend.
We put our arms around him.
Around him.
He sat for a picture
We
with us.
we went to his house.
We went to his house.
He invited us to his house.
I don't know how you did that one, but okay,
That was
Gabe.
great.
Salute,
Last
brother.
January.
That was,
Last
this,
January.
This January.
When you had the COVID.
And
No, hush now.
we really, number one, just really appreciated his kindness to us.
Yeah.
We interviewed him before that. We had him on the show before.
Yeah.
But we spent like an hour and a half with him at his house.
Yeah.
That's in the club portal.
Yeah.
So just number one, just really appreciated his kindness to us, down to earth, and so on. But his impact on economics and race discussions in America is really huge, and really just economics, just period.
Yeah.
Right. And what did Thomas Sowell tip his hat to? He said he's the
one of the most underrated, unappreciated economists out there.
And he was great friends with Tom, and we pronounced Soul.
But
that's all right.
How did he pronounce it? Sowell?
Thomas Sowell.
He said Sowell.
Sowell. This is my Texan right there.
Okay.
It's like oil.
Sorry, Dr. Thomas.
It's like oil.
Anyways, so in honor of Walter Williams, we wanted to play a chunk of our conversation with him. We're in his living room.
Right in his living room,
talking economics, and hopefully give you a taste of his stuff.
Yeah.
He's written pretty prolifically, has a number of books.
Yeah. Race and Economics. Which you brought with you, and you had Walter sign.
Yes,
and I was like, why did I not bring my books?
I thought ahead.
Yeah, you
I was
did.
Thinking, I want his.
That was smart.
He signed two books that I have by him, and so, anyways, thankful to God for his life.
Yep.
And enjoy the conversation that we had with him, because we did.
The minimum wage law is one of the most effective tools in the arsenal of racists throughout mankind's history.
Wow. Walk that out.
And I discovered that, if you look at my book, it's called South Africa's War Against Capitalism.
Okay.
And a number of years ago, I spent time in South Africa. I spent several times in South Africa and doing research on labor markets. And it turns out that white racist unions in South Africa were the major supporters of minimum wage laws for blacks.
Huh.
And their stated reason is that we want higher mandated laws, they call the rate for the job law there, higher minimum wage laws to protect white workers from having to compete with low-skilled, low-wage black workers.
Wow.
For example, on a construction project, I think in 1971, the average wage that a white worker got for manual labor, just general labor,
right,
unskilled labor, was $1.91 an hour. The employer could hire a black worker to do the same thing, 39 cents an hour.
Oh, wow.
So what was the employer's incentives? To hire the black worker.
Right.
But however, if you could mandate that the employer pay the black worker and the white worker the same wage, then the worker would have reduced incentive.
Right.
The employer will have a reduced incentive to hire the black worker.
But that's South Africa. We're in America, and our minimum wage is kind and charitable.
No.
How's our minimum wage
you look at
racist here?
You look at our first minimum wage in our country. as written in 1931, and it's called the Davis-Bacon Act. And what the Davis-Bacon Act did, it mandated that on all federally financed or assisted construction projects, the prevailing wage must be paid. And the prevailing wage, the Department of Labor determines it to be the union wage or higher.
Okay.
And if you read through the legislative debate on the Davis-Bacon Act, well, mainly page 6513 of the Congressional Record in March 31st, 1931, just read that, where the congressmen are debating about the minimum wage. You'll see Congressman Allgood and some others say things like, see that contractor over there? He brings cheap colored labor up, puts them in cabins, and it's labor of that sort that's competing with American whites. And this is why we need the Davis-Bacon Act.
Wow.
That was when the South construction workers were coming up to the North, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And they were out working them in the day and the night, and the price was comparable. I remember that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And so what after the Davis-Bacon Act, blacks were virtually removed from the construction industry in the North.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. The North.
So fast forward, how are minimum wage laws still racially connected?
Well, because if you say, well, who are the low-skilled workers in the American labor force? Well, for the most part, they tend to be teenagers.
Uh-huh.
Teenagers are low-skilled because they lack the maturity and experience of adults.
Right.
Among the teenagers are black teenagers. They not only share the handicaps of teenagers in general, but they also share the additional handicap of rotten schools, broken families, poor neighborhoods.
Right.
So they're going to be the lowest of the low-skilled workers.
Yeah.
And so if the minimum wage law is going to discriminate against the employment of low-skilled workers, it will have a heavier impact on black low-skilled workers than white low-skilled workers.
Yeah.
And so now that doesn't have anything to do with the intention. That's in addition to the racially discriminatory effect of the minimum wage law.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, think about it this way.
Yeah.
If you have a mandated minimum price on anything, it discriminates against the least preferred. I mean, for example, ask yourself, suppose we had a mandated minimum price on steak.
Yeah.
And so you had to pay $15 a pound for filet mignon and $15 a pound for chuck steak.
Yeah.
What would you buy? The filet mignon. Yeah.
Chuck steak all day.
You're on to something.
That's right. And so that would discriminate against the less preferred steak.
Right.
Namely the chuck steak.
Right.
And the only way chuck steak competes with filet mignon today is that it goes for a lower price.
Right.
And if you can't allow it to go for a lower price,
you can see it going. Yeah.
You give it handicap. Or think of it another way. Suppose I were to ask you, suppose you see a fat, old, ugly, cigar-smoking man married to a beautiful young lady.
Yeah.
What would be your prediction about that man's income?
Or he got a very dope mouthpiece.
You guess that it's pretty high. And so what is he doing? He's telling the beautiful young lady, look, I can't compete for your hand on the basis of a handsome guy.
Right.
So I'm going to offset my handicaps by offering you more money.
Right.
And so suppose somebody said, well, look, is it fair for beautiful young ladies to charge fat, old, ugly cigar-smoking men higher prices? And you might say, no, it's not fair. So you make a law that beautiful young ladies can't treat fat, old, ugly cigar-smoking men any differently than handsome men.
Uh-oh.
Then what happens to the chances of a fat, old, cigar-smoking man marrying a beautiful young lady? It goes to zilch.
Yeah.
But all the guys with no money just rose up to the top, though.
Pardon me?
All the guys with no money just rose up to the top, though.
So it worked. So Ocasio-Cortez You know who she is, AOC?
Yeah.
She was interviewed by Ta-Nehisi Coates this last week. And in the interview, she was talking about how billionaires make money off their employees. And how, the employees are actually the ones doing all the work. The billionaires are sitting on couches while the employees are doing all the work. And then yet they end up with $1 billion, and the employees barely end up with a living wage, as she would define it. Right. And then she summarizes this by saying, and so no one ever makes $1 billion. You take $1 billion. So she basically summarizes by saying those owners, the CEOs of the company, they're taking $1 billion. They aren't making $1 billion. It's everyone at the ground level who's should be making the money, but instead billionaires, the owners, are the ones who are taking the money. How do you process that? How do you respond to that?
No, I think it's at summary, it would be just plain nonsense. You say, well, how do people become rich? Well, in a free market, people become rich by serving their fellow man.
Amen.
By making your fellow man better off.
Yeah. Right.
You say, well, look, how did Bill Gates become one of the richest people in the world?
Yeah.
His grandfather owned slaves.
Did he do it through robbing people?
Right.
No, he didn't. He produced Windows.
Yeah.
Something that satisfies people.
Yep.
And what people did, they all around the world, they voluntarily plunked down $400.
Yep.
For his Windows.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or matter of fact, you can look at income. People get income by serving their fellow man. That is, you say, look, suppose I mow your lawn.
Right.
And you give me $20 for mowing your lawn. Well, what is that $20? Well, you see what it is when I go to the grocer and I say, I would like to have a 6-pack of beer and 2 pounds of steak that my fellow man produced. So the grocer, in effect, says to me, well, Williams, you're making a claim on what your fellow man produced. What did you do to serve him? And that's when I showed the $20.
Yeah.
I served my fellow man by mowing his lawn. And this is proof. This is the evidence, the $20.
Right.
Now, the difference between government can say to me, well, Williams, you don't have to get out in hot sun and mow your fellow man's lawn. We will take his beer and steak to give to you.
Yeah.
And so you've asked about the morality of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good or a high standard of morality that in order to have a claim on what your fellow man produce, you have to serve your fellow man.
Yeah.
I could have used about another 2 hours with that brother. He started off a little slow. Like, I don't know if he liked this at first. And then eventually he kind of warmed up.
He warmed up.
Like, yeah.
He warmed up.
No, he's been, such a huge influence in just helping me think through some of these things and going back and pointing to the history of how things started. Yeah. And I was thinking about this. Walter Williams was a young man at a time where he wasn't allowed voting rights when he was a kid, like growing up. Yeah. And so he's not someone who's just talking about this, who's what they call it, victim via proxy.
Right.
He's actually involved in the moment, and
his final op-ed. So he was writing all the way down to
November 4th. Was it November 4th? Something
I don't know, but it's within the last month.
Yeah.
His very last op-ed article, which you can look it up. Last Walter Williams article is on that very point.
Oh, is it?
It's actually on the point of what he grew up in. He grew up and he kind of traces the statistics of lynching.
Oh, yeah.
And the thousands of people that were being lynched.
And Jim Crow laws,
Jim Crow laws, the actual persecution. And then he basically turns the corner and says, what you're facing today
is far worse.
Is nothing like that.
Yeah.
Particularly in terms of the black community. Saying like, okay, yeah, I mean, there's haters out there, there's racists out there and so on, but you can go to college, you can get a job, you can play for the NBA, you can play, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And it's nothing like what we've been through, cool it.
In other words,
ease up.
He's drawing a connection between lynching back then, which was bad, not good, but the numbers of those who were lynched back then do not compare to the black-on-black lynchings that happen now in the U.S.
Right. Yeah. He says though that I think his point is that that's worse. Actually was worse back then. But he says where we have pockets of problems today, he says it's not a state solution. He says we are doing it to ourselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he doesn't even bring up abortion.
Yeah, well, we bought into the fact that
which is way worse than the lynching numbers back in the day,
and way worse than all the black on black crime in Chicago. But he points out that some of the cities where there's the most black on black crime, is run by black people.
Yeah,
and he says, and he's not saying like it's
black mayors.
He's not saying it's their fault. He's actually just saying there's not a statist solution.
Well, that's been the problem. That's why we have it, is because the statist solution we employed is giving us what we have right now.
Right.
Yeah, there's so much.
When you look to the sword, but you look to the sword to save you.
Yep.
It doesn't work.
But Christians need to understand this too as it relates to politics, because we're doing the same thing. We did the same thing in the 90s. Yep. We gave all our hope into politics, thinking that politics was going to save us. Yep. And we instead of building the new, we were talking about Maseo about this. Yep. Instead of, what if Christians had owned Facebook? What if they stopped expecting other people to do stuff for them and start building the platforms that we need today? And we would be in a completely different place. It's not just what happened in black culture then. We're still doing the same thing now as it relates to politics and the government.
Yeah, God designed the world such that family, which includes business.
That's right.
Business is an extension of family.
Yep.
That's right.
It's supposed to be. Family and church are supposed to be the other two governments that balance out the state.
That's right.
And when one of those governments, back in the Middle Ages, it was the Roman Catholic Church that became the tyrant.
That's right.
And that's why the early reformers are so big on getting the civil magistrates actually up and running, because there were no civil magistrates. The Roman Catholic Church was all there was. But we need the family, we need the church, and we need the state in their rightful lanes. And when we respect and honor the family and what business can do,
that's right.
And when we respect and honor the church and what it can do in its rightful place, it creates this natural balance, and it puts the state back in its rightful place.
Uncle Gary points this out. Actually, he does it in God and Government. He also does it when he talks about economics. But economics, ekoname, is house law.
Yep.
So every time you see someone out there talking about business, one of the things they want to do is sever it from the family itself. Yep. But when they're talking about shutting down your business, you need to think about they're shutting down your families.
Yep.
That's what they're shutting down, and they're getting it past the sphere that they need to operate in.
Right.
And when you say no, my business is going to be open.
That's right.
And I'm going to invite my neighbors and my family, and we're going to do what you're doing is you're saying, no, I'm going to provide for my family.
That's right. And love your neighbor.
And I'm going to provide for my neighbor.
Because doing business is providing a service. This is what Walter Williams talked about, where it's saying, how can I love my neighbor in a particular way?
That's right.
And so you offer your house law, what you guys create, as a way to love your neighbor. So I appreciate him and his life and what he's offering. And go get some of his books, man. They're so helpful right now.
Yeah. And start a business.
Get married. Find out her name. Birthday boy.
Right.
All right.
No.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
How many people are going to be asking for birthday wishes now on the show?
The reason the Fight, Laugh, Feast conference is crucial is the combination of those words. Christians need to learn how to fight, they need to learn how to laugh, they need to learn how to feast.
The next Reformation, what will it look like? Probably a lot like what we're seeing here at this particular conference.
We need to say what the prophets said and do what the prophets did.
Jesus has said, every square inch is mine.
We need to be more combative than we are. We need to be more cheerful than we are. And we need to be more given over to celebration. The joy of the Lord is our strength.
As in all things, we start with the Word.
We need to use our entire toolkit. And I think that a lot of Christians, there are certain tools that they haven't traditionally used.
Jesus, when dealing with spiritually dangerous things, Jesus tells the truth in hard ways. He used a serrated edge.
We're on a field of battle, and we fight until the king relieves us of duty. And if we have him with us, we really cannot lose.
When we're fighting, we're singing, much like the Israelites as they sent their choir out in front to lead their armies into battle with song.
The rules of engagement have got to be defined by the dictums of Christ.
The world is asking all kinds of questions, and we've got the answers.
We need to look like the church described in the scriptures, which is a church that despairs of its own competency and lays hold of the grace and the mercy of Christ.
God put dragons in the world so that we could fight them, and we should fight dragons with shouts of joy.
I want to hear 5 clap beast all